In the latest twist in the tale of the royal racist row, biographer Omid Scobie today admitted naming two alleged racists in an early version of his book. Scobie confessed today that he sent a manuscript of the book containing the names to the publisher and thought it would be updated to reflect the final version of the book sent officially. So, why was he so adamant when he blamed the Dutch publisher for the names being printed? Didn't he also blame a translator? Let's bring in TalkTV's newsroom correspondent, Rupert Bell. Hi, Rupert.
Good evening, Nadine.
And thank you for joining me. So, you know, Rupert, as an author, I know how stringent the line edit, the copy edit, the final read-throughs, the lawyer checks, I know how rigid the checks are that you have to go through before a book goes out. Do we believe Omid Scobie's story?
Well, if he probably said earlier, look, I'm banged to rights here. I put the names in the original manuscript, and off it went to the publishers. It was going to be checked, as he said it was in the US and UK versions. It might have been able to diffuse the situation. But instead, he actually said, no, it was not me. I have no idea how it got there. So he has added to the furore around it because he's been proved that he actually knew all along that the names had ended up there. And he was the author who put the names in. Now, of course, they may not have been meant to go to print, as with the legal checks, as you were alluding to. But this has just thrown into question the other bits of the book. And if he's, you know, you feel the article that he wrote today about it, he's trying to sort of almost brush it over and said, actually, since it's come out, people haven't read the book properly. It's all, you know, they're having a go at me. I've been harangued by the press as soon as I arrived in this country. He's almost now trying to deflect it away from the fact that he's made the mistake, not anybody else. He was the author. When you wrote your book, you probably wrote things that in the end you had to, I don't know how many things you might have had to scrap out of your book, Nadine, but I imagine it might have been one or two, just in case. Yeah. So ultimately, Omid, you knew his book was going to have to be full of legal scrutiny, but it slipped through the net. But why not admit it? You've got it wrong and stop blaming the poor translators in Holland.
Yeah. And, you know, I lost half of my book, the stuff that I had to take out through legal checks. And I can't imagine for a minute that if I'd written what he wrote and those names in the book, it would have got through my publisher's lawyers. They would have put a big red line through it. It would never have got in. There's something slightly untoward gone on there, isn't there, with those names slipping into the Dutch version? Something slightly odd has happened.
Well, yes, and I think it's unfair on the two people, you know, who are alleged to be at the heart of this. And now what he's saying is that in his article today, well, the royal family needs to look at its royal role within slavery, and the institution needs to develop with the times. Well, yes, no one is suggesting the royal family is 100% perfect, just as you've been suggesting the BBC is not 100% perfect. You know, institutions need to look at themselves to make sure they seem relevant. But in this particular case, when there are alleged claims about the King and the Princess of Wales, that seems, legally, that's why it couldn't be published in the UK and the US versions. He wrote those names originally, and he should have said so as soon as it came apparent that there was a problem with the Dutch version of the book. And he didn't. And he was swearing on his mother's life and all sorts of things. So really, he's made himself look a little stupid.
He's a bit of an oddball, isn't he, Rupert? How are the sales going? Do you think this is going to help him to, sell the book? Or can I say that legally? He's a bit of an oddball. Do you think he's going to be able to sell more copies of the book now? Or is it damaged the book?
Well,
what do you think?
Well, I'm told it's only sold in this country about 6,500 copies.
Well, I've done way more than that with mine.
Well, yours is probably a little bit more interesting. I wish I could read the other bits that you had chopped out, Nadine. That would be fun. But anyway, you won't reveal them here either. But the point is that Harry's book sold something like 476,000, was the fastest-selling non-fiction book. His Finding Freedom book, I think, sold something like 31,000 copies in the first few days. His Endgame is only in this country sold just over, around about 7,000, maybe just under that figure. So it's not gone off the shelves. And this, I think, because actually people are thinking, well, what's new? And the reviews have said he said he was writing it very quickly. Well, I think I've been hearing that he'd been writing this book for a very long time. this Endgame. So that's why I think people are questioning it, because it doesn't feel like there's anything outrageously new with what he's come out with. We sort of already know that there are problems with the royal family in some parts of it. And that's the issue. The book isn't offering much new, apart from a little controversy here and there.
And, you know, I actually, part of my heart feels sorry for him as a fellow author. You know, we have to support each other because it's a hard world. And I do feel sorry for him. But you're quite right. If you want to sell a good book, you've got to have original content. Rupert, I've got to come to the end now. But thank you for joining us. Hope we have you again one day.